Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today we're gonna talk about airbrusher. We're starting right now. Right, so many people ask, what airbrusher should I shoot? And that is a very good question. And to answer that question, it depends. Airbrusher depends on what you want to do. If it's detailing, if it's base coating, if you're just doing, I call it regular painting, or everything in between detailing and base coating. All that depends on your airbrusher, but also the amount of reducer, what kind of paint you're using. So it depends on a lot of stuff, what kind of airbrusher. Also you have the climate, the environment you're working in. Is it moist or is it very warm? Also that can affect your airbrusher, the kind of airbrush you're using, the quality of your airbrush. There are so many things that have an influence on what airbrusher you should use for the best results. But I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth on this. So guys, let's first talk about base coating and using paints for that. Now I'm gonna use some black, and I'm gonna take Wicked Black here. I'm gonna do this because this paint is super thick straight from out the bottle, and it's meant to be that way. It's no manufacturing fault or anything. It's no mistake. It is meant to be that way. Now I know some people like to shoot straight from the bottle because they don't like using reducer and everything, and that's fine. It's up to you. But if you want to shoot a very thick paint, you're gonna have to up your air pressure, and I'm gonna show you that. As you can see, that is some pretty thick paint. Now some people say the consistency of milk is the ideal liquidity of the paint. Well, you can do that if you want. You can listen to that, sure. I don't say it's wrong, but I do it differently, because I don't need the consistency of milk for base coating. I can shoot thicker paints for base coating. It doesn't need to be that kind of thinned down to do a base coat. As for when I'm doing my regular painting, then I like to use a little bit of reducer just to make it shoot better and have less tip dry. And then it is about the consistency of milk indeed. But when I'm doing detailing, then I'm actually using much more reducer. Then I'm even going up to about a ratio sometimes that is 70% reducer and only 30% paint, which is the consistency of water basically. It's no more milk, it's water. And that just helps me doing little details with very low air pressure, giving me full control over everything. So the consistency of milk, yeah, but it depends on what you want to do. I have my very thick paint here, as you can see, super thick. It doesn't want to run down. It doesn't even move when I hold it upside down. It just sits there, you know. It's super thick. And my air pressure is on about 10 psi, maybe just a little less. And if I try to shoot this, you see I'm going full blast now. Nothing is happening. It's not coming out. Here it was a little shot. Here it starts to spit. If I play with my trigger, you can see I start to splatter a little bit. But nothing is coming out. It just builds up inside, and when I release, then it shoots a little. So I'm gonna up my air pressure now to 25 psi. I'm gonna shoot the same paint. It's still not reduced. And now it starts to come out. And still you can see a lot of these. If I do a separate line, you can see I have no control here. More paint came out, and the line is still very cloggy. It's still very grainy, I would say. Yeah, grainy is a good word. It's still really grainy. So that means my air pressure is still too low to have full control over this thick paint. And also you can see some tip dry starting to build up, so we're gonna remove that for the sake of the video. up my air pressure more. Now I'm shooting about at 35 psi. For base coating, this for me is enough. If I just need to do an entire lure in one color, I want to do it quickly, I want to do it efficiently. And the good thing about having your paint this thick is that you can build up a really fat layer without spider webbing. You see? It's still not spider webbing. I didn't blow any paint away. It builds up really nicely, but it's not flying off my paper. It's not doing this. I really have to do my best here to spider web that paint. It barely spider web because the paint is super thick. So you do actually have a lot of control over this when you're just doing a base coat. You can full blown your lure with the paint without having any blotchy effect or uneven coat. You can very easily coat your lure on a higher pressure with a thicker paint, and you're gonna have less problem actually as when you reduce your paint. Of course, for better adhesion, I always advise to use a little 40-30 when you're using Createx paints, but that's a different thing. On its own, really thick paint with a high air pressure makes it really easy for base coating. So now I'm gonna reduce this paint a little. I always use 40-11. Some people like to use 40-12, and it all depends on the climate, because 40-12 works better when it's in a little bit warmer environment, and that might be just because you have a heated studio or it's summertime, or there are a lot of things that influences this. So 40-11 tends to work better for me, 40-12 tends to work better for others. There is no wrong in any of these products. Both of them work very good, used in the right circumstances. So I mix this up a little in the cup. I also don't like using mixing cups. You waste a lot of paint in a mixing cup, and you can mix anything you want in your airbrush. There's no need to use extra plastic, because I try to think a little bit about the environment. There's no need to mix paint separately if you're gonna mix it anyway in your mixing cup. Of course, if you're trying to get a certain color and you want to mix some colors and you want it to be right before you put in the airbrush, then you could use a mixing cup. But if you're just reducing your paint, you might as well just do it in a cup. There's no need to use that in a mixing cup or in plastic, or at least that's my opinion on that. Of course, you can do whatever you want, and whatever you believe in is good for you and is good for me. Alright, so first you always, when you reduce your paint, you have to blow out a little bit of that paint that is still here in the nozzle, because there is always some paint buildup in the nozzle, and if you reduce your paint in the cup, the paint in the nozzle is not reduced yet, so you need to shoot that out first if you want to use the reduced paint like I do right now. So now my paint is reduced about 50-50, 50% reduced or 50% paint. I still am shooting at 30 psi or 35 maybe. Let's see what happens if I try to build up the same dot as I did here. So you see what happens? If your paint is thinner, you can spider web. Now I just need to lower my air pressure, and this can be used in different circumstances. Because if you want to base coat a lure with this kind of reduced paint, sure you can, but it will take you more time because you will have to layer your layers thinner, and you will have to take your time more to layer out these layers of paint and let them dry before you can add a new layer to get that full coverage. If you're using them right out of the bottle, you can just shoot one thick layer that has full coverage, covers the entire lure, makes it one color, nice and clean, nice and even, in one, not in one shot, but in less than a minute. Well, if you use reduced paint for base coating, it's gonna take you longer. So now we know that our air pressure is too high because we're spider webbing very easily from afar and from close up. So I lowered my air pressure to about 10 psi now, maybe 15. But as you can see, I can do super fine lines now. Without a problem. It shoots when I want it to shoot. I have full control over this. It's super easy. The paint shoots beautifully. I can shoot this for a long time before I get tip dry. I'm not gonna say forever or an hour. I don't know how long it's gonna take, because you always will get some tip dry eventually. But at least this paint shoots really well. And if I want to make a dot now, you see, I just slowly, slightly build up that paint, and because of the air pressure, it's not gonna blow it away. So this is perfectly for detailing, if you're doing small details, or even if you're doing the regular painting, using stencils and everything. You can use quite some reducer and just lower your air pressure, because if it's too high, you're gonna blow away your own paint that's not dry yet. So that's how you know I need to up my air pressure or lower my air pressure. So now I lowered my air pressure to basically, I would say 4 psi or something. It's barely anything. And now if you see, you're gonna see this very clear here. You can see it becomes grainy again, while it was way less grainy before. That is because my air pressure is too low again, and it doesn't shoot the paint nice and clean out of there, and then you get a grainy line. So again, that also is something you need to experiment with. Where is that sweet spot for you using a certain kind of paint, adding no or a little reducer, what kind of airbrush, and the climate. So play around with your air pressure, and that's the only way how you're gonna find your own sweet spot, but because it's different for everybody. Then one other thing I want to talk to you about is brand specific. Also, the amount of air pressure you're gonna need to use depends on the brand and the type of paint, because if I'm mixing Candy 2.0 with some 4030, it tends to be more reduced on its own, because Candy 2.0 is like water, so it's already gonna thin down my 4030 a lot. So I don't need a lot of air pressure or reducer with my candies, because they're already very thinned down on its own. While to the opaque and the wicked line, I need a lot of air pressure. Also, when I'm spraying metallics, I don't often use reducer on those, because I just up my air pressure a little and they shoot beautifully. But that's also depending on the paint. So also in that area, you're gonna have to play and test out for yourself what works. And when we're talking about different brands, I also got Vallejo, and I also got acrylic inks from Liquitex. Especially the Liquitex acrylic inks, you need very low air pressure because they are like water, so you don't need a lot of air pressure there. It all basically comes down to 3 categories. If your paint is not thinned down, use a higher air pressure. If your paint is thinned down a little, 10 to maybe 20% depending on the paint, use medium air pressure, which is 20-25 I would say. And if your paint is very fluid, very thinned down already, then use low air pressure, which is about 10-15 psi. And these are just guidelines, because it also depends on your airbrush and everything, so you will have to play around with this yourself and try out what works best for you. But I can tell you, some paints are already more thinned down straight out of the bottle, like Vallejo and Golden as well. Those are already reduced a little bit compared to other paints, which then you need less air pressure. But again, you need to find out that for yourself. I can only give you some guidelines and keep telling you guys, experiment and try it out for yourself. So guys, I cannot state this enough, but it's a little different for everybody, and it also depends on how you want to paint your paints, what you like. If you like using thick paints or really thinned down paints. but these are just guidelines. They might help you in the future using different kind of paints, or helping you doing your detailing better, or just making your base coats go quicker. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.